Okay, this short video is going to go over your final paper requirements. In Module 3, you have the first part of your paper due, and then your final portions will be due in Module 5. So I just want to cover a lot of it now so you guys are ready. There is information in both the syllabus and in this secondary document called the Final Paper Requirements to help you understand what it is that needs to go into your final paper. So, final paper requirements as they're listed here in the syllabus, there are 4 different parts. There's the paper proposal with the synthesis of literature. This is due in Module 3. You have the final paper, the cover letter, and the resume, all of which are due in Module 5. The paper proposal is going to give you an opportunity to organize your ideas, make sure that there's sufficient research. If there are any gaps, I can help you fill them in. As we go through Module 3, if there's any research that you need help finding, you can obviously contact me and let me know. And then your final paper is going to show that you can apply your understanding of a specific topic in rhetoric and composition theory. You can use one of the 5 tasks that you completed as a starting point for this paper. However, your paper needs to expand on your task and provide an in-depth understanding of the topic of your choice. You're going to really discuss a topic in rhetoric and composition at length. What I do recommend is that you use task number 5, which is a multimedia project, as the same topic as your final paper. That way, at the very end, when you're writing your final paper, you don't need to research a secondary topic for your multimedia task, which is task number 5. The cover letter is similar to other cover letters, and then you'll need to submit a copy of your resume. Okay, so final paper requirements. Your goal for your argument essay is to show your readers that you can argue a point by using specific rhetorical frameworks from Smith's textbook to guide your exploration of the topic of your choice. You will use textual evidence explored in modules 1 through 5 throughout your essay. I've also created a wiki page that lists some possible topics for you to consider and some resources for you to look into that provide a lot of background information on the various topics that we've covered so far in this class. So be sure to also check out that wiki space to make sure that you kind of seen what your options are as far as final topics go. I've posted it to Twitter, so if you have any questions, just let me know. Your final paper has to show that you understand specific theories within the general area of rhetoric, writing, and digital media studies, and that you can apply these theories to your final paper. So there are 4 components. There's the paper proposal with synthesis of literature, again, due in Module 3, and then there's the final paper, the cover letter, and the resume. So the paper proposal with synthesis of literature, your paper proposal provides you with an opportunity to organize your ideas for your paper and conceptualize your thoughts. So read through all of this. Your proposal should be 2 to 3 pages, and there's information on what should be in the proposal, and then your synthesis of literature is going to be an additional 4 to 5 pages. The synthesis of literature should not read like an annotated bibliography, so it really shouldn't be source 1, source 2, source 3, source 4. You need to, with the synthesis, start putting those theories and those theorists and those different areas of interest in conversation with each other. So task 3 is also focused on synthesizing literature, so I'll talk more about what a synthesis of literature looks like in that particular video, so make sure to watch that one as well. But as you're putting together the synthesis of literature, just note it's not an annotated bibliography. Put your theorists, put your theories, put your ideas in conversation with each other, and then you'll expand upon that significantly for your final paper. So the basic components of the proposal. You'll have a title that's going to encapsulate your purpose, the exigency, motivation, problem statement. Why are you proposing to look at this? Why is this topic interesting to you? What is it that you hope to gain from it? And then purpose and context. Who are you gearing your information towards? Who do you think is going to read it? Obviously, yes, I'm reading and I'm giving you a grade, but beyond me, who do you see as the prime audience? Is it other theorists in the field? Is it other practitioners of English 105, of English 101, 102, of whatever freshman composition sequence numbering we add to that? Is it other GTAs? Is it to faculty in the field? Who do you imagine your audience to be? And then what kind of context do they need in order to understand where your argument's coming from? What is it that you need for your paper? Do you want to work on this paper because of a specific experience at school? Do you know that there's a problem that needs to be addressed? Once you know why it is important to work on this paper, it'll be easy to figure out what your perspective will be, whether you will have preconceived notions, and who you should be talking to, and so on. So I don't expect you to have all of the answers. This is a proposal, so what you're trying to lay out is what do you know, what don't you know, and who do you think needs to know more about your topic, and then what are all the questions that you have, and then we'll go from there. What specific aspects of the overall topic would you like to explore? For example, do you want to show how specific teaching practices need to be changed to be more inclusive? Do you want to provide reasons for including multimedia in the classroom? Do you want to show how the Common Core standards can be implemented into a writing course, etc.? All of these questions get at the idea that there's a lot of theory that still needs to be discussed that your paper should cover, so be sure to cover that. Constraints. How do you set limits on what you can talk about? This paper is not going to solve everything. As you've seen through this course so far, and then as you'll see for the remainder of this course, there are a lot of different ideas and a lot of different theories. No one theory is going to work for every single student in your class, and in most cases you have more than one class per semester. So what is it that you do? How do you mix and match some of these? And then what can you do with your paper, or what can readers do, gain, learn, implement from your paper? What do you want them to be able to do? You need to set those as the constraints so that the reader knows what to do with your particular argument. So as listed here, what problems will you encounter? How are you going to address these? We know that time is always a constraint. Obviously, you're in grad school. But there are other issues that you can foresee, such as access to library materials, not enough people to interview, available software and hardware. List what you think the constraints are going to be so that as you move forward, I can kind of guide your research question in a specific direction so your project is doable. My goal with this proposal is to make sure that you've selected a topic that you can actually finish and that you're not going to struggle with repeatedly throughout the duration of the semester. Method, procedure, approach. How are you going to accomplish this? Keeping in mind that just like in task number 2, the questions that you ask and the way that you go after those questions is going to basically limit or constrain the kinds of conclusions that you can come to. That's not a bad thing. That's how the world works. So with the method and the procedure and the approach, I want to know that the questions you're asking in your proposed methodology are going to lead to your proposed conclusions. So make sure that everything lines up. Really think about how everything's connected in the structure of putting this paper together, and then secondarily in all of the resources that you're actually gathering for this particular paper. What results are you expecting? And then you're going to include your synthesis of literature. So again, please review task 3 for detailed information on synthesis. Read all of the task 3 information as well as watch the video that I've prepared for task number 3. You might be able to use part of your task 3 synthesis for your research, synthesis for your final paper, especially if you're using resources from modules 1, 2, and 3 as part of your final project. You will need 15 to 20 sources for your final paper. For your initial synthesis of literature, you need at least 10. So as part of your proposal due in module 3, you're going to need at least 10 sources synthesized, not annotated. And then upload the document. Again, if you'll upload it in .docx, then I can add comments to it, which will make our back and forth a lot easier. Component number 2 of this is your actual final paper. You can submit them all, the directions say, as 2 to 4 separate files. That's fine, or you can put them all as one. I'm not that picky. What we're looking for is that you can put together a successful argument paper, and you need to show mature reasoning. So can you do something with all of these theories of rhetoric and composition that we've dealt with over the course of the semester in a way that's meaningful to a group that you've selected? So you need to show that you fit the components of mature reasoning. Mature reasoners are well informed, so you're looking at multiple sides of an argument. You are self-critical and open to constructive criticism. You have audience or readers in mind, and you're actually signaling who those people are, and you know the argument's context. What is the background information? What's led to this particular argument? How have all of these ideas come together to shape this particular approach, and then what is it that you're doing with it coming from that contextualized background? For your thesis, you want to pick a topic that has been most powerful for you. So you guys may pick similar topics, you may all pick different topics. Pick something that's important to you, something that's relevant to something that you're interested in. Your thesis has to be narrowly defined since you're only going to write a short argument paper, and it can use ideas that you're exploring in this paper and expand on them in your final paper. Choose text for modules 1 through 5. You need to choose at least 7 to 10 from the class, using Smith as just one. And then you'll also use library resources, and you should have 5 to 10 of those. Use at least 15 to 20 texts overall for your paper. And this, from my perspective, is the minimum number of texts that it will take for you to contextualize both the background of your argument and where you want your argument to go. These are not arbitrary numbers that we've selected. This is based on my own experience with my own writing. This is what it takes to ground an argument so that you can move forward with it and make it meaningful to your particular audience. If you have questions about finding sources, you don't know where to look, and you've looked over the sources that I've listed in the Wikipedia page, then obviously contact me. Twitter's the best way to do that. Your argument in this paper should include an introduction. Obviously, you're summarizing your argument. Body, you're going to lay out the contextualization of your argument as well as move it forward in the direction that you expect it to go, and then you'll have a conclusion on it. Don't forget to include your works cited page. Use in-text citations as well as the works cited page at the very end. For a synthesis and for a paper of this length, you are probably going to include very few direct quotes. You're going to paraphrase and you're going to summarize more frequently, because you can summarize large chunks of text much simpler and then put that summary in conversation with another piece much faster than you can with a direct quote. This is going to change how you read these papers that are going to be the background for this particular paper that you're creating, because you're not reading them looking for what's the gist of the argument and what quotes can I use. Instead, you're looking for what is the gist of the argument and how can I summarize that in a way that supports or doesn't support, or at least contextualizes my argument in a very specific way. How can I summarize it in a way that puts this piece in conversation with somebody else? So you're not just looking for direct quotes. Oftentimes, direct quotes are going to be the most difficult to use. I have entire papers where I use no direct quotes. Instead, I have 20 summaries that I put in conversation with each other so that I can synthesize. Here's how James Paul G's theories were definitely shaped by his work with the New London Group, and then his work with the New London Group in combination with these NCTE principles for multimedia learning in the 21st century composition classroom all shape my approach to using Twitter in this online grad class in these ways. I haven't cited anybody, but I've summarized 3 different sources to indicate how I'm contextualizing the Twitter assignment that I have you guys engaged in. It's much more complicated than that. These are the first 3 I came up with off the top of my head. That's what you want to consider as you're going through these particular sources. How do you read them so that you can use their argument? You can summarize their argument in very specific ways that you can use it to put that argument in conversation with another argument in support of, or as background information, or as juxtaposition to the point that you're trying to make in your final paper. Again, upload the final paper in .doc. Cover letter, you guys have done several of these, so I'm going to let you guys go through this information. You should know how to do them at this point. And then I do want you to include a copy of your resume. Just how is it that you're talking about this class? How is this program shaping the direction that you're going to go, and how are you showing that on your resume? That's what I'm looking for with the resume. If you have questions about the proposal or you have questions about the final paper, feel free to reach out to me through email, or you can direct message me through Twitter for a faster response. If you think your question is important to everybody, and most of the time your guys' questions are important to everybody, feel free to start a conversation on Twitter. Just add my handle to your tweet and we'll start talking about these 2 components on Twitter.